All right, so we have our building here, and for quiz 5, as I mentioned, our goal is to convert what we have here into a template. And so the one thing I like about doing this exercise this way is right now we've already built some stuff, right? We've loaded in some columns, we've created some floor types. And so when I was building my templates really early on, I would often take my most recent project, strip it, and build that as a template. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. So I'm going to save this. And I mean, ultimately, we need to create some sheets first. So let's do a new sheet. Let's load in. Let's actually do that through Insert, Load Autodesk Family. And so in the outline for quiz 5 and quiz 6, I have 2 sheet types. Quiz 5 is going to be based on 11 by 17. Quiz 6 will be based on ArcD, just kind of for 2 different types of buildings. So let's load both of them in right now. And I'm only going to adjust the title block for one, but we want to do both. So let's load ArcD and 11 by 17 in. And if you can't see those, just remember that I changed my region to be US Imperial, and so that's how I am seeing them. So let's go to new sheet. Let's do our 11 by 17 one. And as I mentioned earlier in the semester, one of my big rules is, I mean, for title blocks, there's a couple things, but biggest thing is I think you should customize this to make it your own. And number 1, remove the Autodesk logo. I think it's just kind of tacky having that on there. Number 2, and just making sure when you print, you're printing correctly. So I think looking at some of the assignments, I think one of the biggest things that people were doing is not printing to 100% zoom. So if I go to print a PDF here, we want to make sure zoom is set at 100%. And that way it'll print correctly and it won't have this extra border around the outside. So anyways, we have our title block here. I believe I did one earlier in the semester, so I'm just going to load this in. Let me see if I can quickly find it here. Yeah, so I have my 11 by 17 presentation title block that I created earlier on, and we'll just flip that out. And so you're welcome to copy this title block. I think this title block is kind of the very basis, is like a very super clean, simple title block, and then it has enough information that, you know, if you're iterating with your professor, or if you take it out in the work scenario, our work template is maybe not the same as this, but it's very simple like this for presentation drawings. So something to keep in mind. And so we want to set up a few sheets. So if we look at our requirements for the quiz here, we have, let's go down to here and let me make this visible so you can see it all. But I've given you some different, it's not going to let me click that other one here. But I've given you some recommendations for sheets. You're certainly welcome to build on this and add more sheets, but we have cover page, site plan, floor plans, elevations, 3D view, and 2 building sections. So that's what we want to create here. So let's set that up. And just to save myself time, I have a few different plugins I use, but there is one called Die Roots, which doesn't look like it is open right now. Let's open Die Roots. So I have this plugin called Die Roots, and it has this thing called Sheet Gen. So I really like to use this for editing sheets because it just saves me a lot of time. So we have cover page. Let's see how many sheets we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we could do maybe 2 elevations. So we'll do 8, 9, and then 2 more. So we'll do 11 sheets. So I'm going to go to new sheet. I'm going to say I want 10 more sheets. It's going to be based on this one here. And it's going to click create. So I'm going to call A00. We're going to call this cover page. I'm just going to hit apply for a second because the one thing that you'll find is it's going to give you issues with overlapping numbers and names. So I'm just going to apply for a second. And then what I'm going to do is just go in here and we'll do site. So we'll call our site as, I mean, you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to do a 100 for site plan. We can do a 200 for, this will be basement. A 300, or sorry, a 201. And you can just see how editing this is so much faster in here versus using the native Revit way of doing it, whereas you have to rename every sheet individually. So this is just my cheat code. Call this first floor. And then a 202. This would be roof, or second floor plan, I guess. Second. And then a 203, roof plan. And this would be a 300, would be elevations 1. And then I'll do a 301. And I guess part of me showing you all this is, you know, I think you can do this pretty quickly. Obviously, I've been doing this a lot longer, but I think you can still do it pretty quickly. I'm going to call this 3D views. And then we'll do a 303, section 1. We probably only need 1 section page. We'll do 2. Actually, sorry, this will be 400. A 400, a 401, section 2. Then we hit apply again, and all these sheets are set up accordingly. It did not place views, unfortunately, but it did do a lot of work for us. So all those are set up. And so I think it's, again, really helpful to set this up with a project you're working on. But what we can do here is we can create a camera view. So we have this this view of our fancy building here. And we can orient that to our building like so. This 3D view can now go on our cover page. So 3D view 1, cover page. What I like to do is I go here and I go to no title for the cover page, and then we'll scale this to be, I'm going to type in 16 inches here, so it's close to the same size as our sheet. And then we can kind of crop it in a little bit. So I might crop this up, crop that down, like so. And so that's looking, I think, pretty good. We can change this view to be shaded if you want, or consistent colors, just so you have a little bit of color. I'm a big fan of doing everything in Revit in hidden line, and then using renderings to show colors. So that's kind of my strategy with a lot of that. We are breaking that rule right now internally for some other reasons, but generally that's my rule, is to kind of make Revit be a drawing platform and using Twinmotion, Lumion, D5, Enscape, whatever you want to use as that rendering platform. In this, we can hide our CAD file, so that looks a little better. And so that's our cover page. And I think I'm not going to set all these sheets up right now, but the goal would be to get a lot of this stuff set up. So let's crop this view here. So we can crop this view so it's fitting on our sheet. And then with the site plan, typically you don't want to see elevation tag. Actually, I don't like the elevation tags, but you don't want to see grid lines. So we can go over to annotations. We can turn off grid lines. We can turn off the elevation ones. And we're going to go over here to model categories. We're going to go down to site, and we're going to turn off the survey point and the project base point. And then I'm going to do one more adjustment. I'm going to go to topography, and I'm going to change my primary contours to be a gray. So I'm going to use 200 gray for primary. And then I'm going to maybe make that a line weight of 1. And then I'm going to make my secondary at maybe a lighter line, or maybe a darker line of 100, and make that line weight 3. And just so now we have a little bit of hierarchy to our topography. And again, that just looks a lot cleaner already. We can move our site title over. One of my things I like to do is I actually like to go into here and I like to turn off extension lines. I hate the extension lines on the views. And I think it looks a lot better when you just have it looking like that. And then we can just continue down the road here. So I'm going to move my first floor over. Again, I'm not going to do all my floor plans, but I'm just going to do a few of them. So let's go to VG here for a second. We're going to go down to walls. We're going to make a cut pattern of solid fill black. And that's just going to look a little more crisp. We'll go back to VG. We're going to turn off grid lines. And then I don't think we really need to show parking lines, so we'll go back to our site. I think they're under site. Site stripe maybe? What are these considered? Oh, there actually is a category called parking. So let's just go VG. Let's go down to parking. Let's turn off parking. And this is that wall that's kind of out in the distance. I'm just going to manually hide that wall so we don't see it. And so that's our floor plan. In the case of this drawing, what I'd maybe not do is not do a separate floor plan and just show this observation deck on the same floor plan. And so how do you do that? The way to do that is using what's called a plan region. So I need to double click into this view. We're going to use a view plan region. And a plan region is, and I don't know if anyone's talked to you about plan regions at all. So a plan region is a consolidated view range adjustment. So you're basically changing the view range of a particular spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box here. We're going to click the check mark. And so we have this green box now. And these lines are invisible, so you won't see them. But now we can actually adjust the view range in this box only. So we can make this bottom to be observation deck, view depth to be observation deck, and click apply. And we need to change our cut plane to observation deck as well. And so now it's showing that observation deck. So it's kind of a micro view range adjustment. Another reason I use them is if you have clear story windows at the top of a wall, they're not going to show in your floor plan. But I think theoretically, from a drawing perspective, you do want to show those clear story windows. And so you can do the same with it by going up. So you can adjust that view range going up, and you can actually see that. Another little trick, this is definitely an advanced level trick I want to show you, is if we turn on our underlayment for a second so that we see our observation roof, what you can actually do, this is something I learned probably in the last 6 months. If you do a override line work, so this little button right here, on an underlay, it actually keeps those lines there when you turn off the underlay. And so the purpose of this is if you have overhangs and you want to show the roof overhang on your floor plan, these lines are locked to that roof. So if you move that roof, the line is the roof, so it's going to move with it. So if we go to our override line work here, and we use the overhead one, and we start clicking these lines, and once we finish, we turn off this underlay, it's going to keep all these lines here. So let's just cycle through all these, and you'll see what I mean in a second. And I think it just gives your project that much little bit of context that, again, helps it make more real, or helps it look more real. So now we can go to here, we can turn off our underlay, and so it keeps all those lines that you have going around. So just, again, a really cool way to have those pieces linked together. I mean, again, you could physically draw them if you wanted to, but I think this is nice because it's a little bit more automatic. So I think really quickly here we have a really good looking floor plan. And so I'd encourage you to start developing some of these graphic standards. And I think we talked about before, once you kind of set up this view how you want it, we can go to view templates, create a template from current view, and I'm just going to call this GBC floor plan. And I'm going to turn off scale. I'm going to turn off view range. I'm going to turn off model displays. Model displays. But everything else we're going to leave like that. Actually, I'm going to turn off detail level. And I like to just turn those off because it gives you a little bit more control in each view. But you can still have that template bring a lot of those standards over. So now we're going to apply this to this view. So we're going to apply this view template here. And if we go to our -1, for example, we can apply that view template. And it cleans up that view. And so I don't want to actually see my property lines, so we can go back into our view template. We can go to override model, and we can go down to property lines, which I believe is under site. Property lines, we can turn off property lines, and now our property lines won't show in our floor plan, so they're just showing in the other areas. So just another little quick tip to make some more efficiency within your workflow. And so elevations, again, we'll do 2 elevations maybe. These elevations are pretty tall, actually. My recommendation usually is we do 1 elevation in each direction. So like we don't do east-west, we do east-north. And the reason why is you might have 1 long, 1 short, and you can have some room for notes or anything else on your drawing. So we kind of use opposite or non-corresponding ones. So let's maybe take this scale down. Where is the scale of our floor plan? That is a good question. That's ceiling plan. Floor plan. What's our scale of our floor plan? 200. Oh. So I don't think we're going to be able to fit these on a sheet. Generally, my rule is you want to keep the scale of your floor plans and elevations the same. I think I'm going to break that on this, though, just because these look massive. So maybe we go down to 1 to 75 or something, 1 to 50, I guess. No, sorry, other direction. 1 to 50. 1 to 200. Oh, no. Yeah, 1 to, oh, sorry. I don't know why I was getting that mixed up, but 1 to 200 works. Okay. So let's go into this view, and we're going to go into here. We're going to go to create template from current view. We're going to do this right away. Oh, in the right place. Create template from current view. We're going to call this GBC elevations. And I just want to do this really quickly because I think it'll be a little bit faster to make all these adjustments. So I'm going to leave scale on for a second. I'm going to turn off model display, and I'm going to turn off, we're going to leave fine detail on. I'm going to turn those off in a second. I normally do turn them off, but because we're just creating these views from scratch, it's actually going to be really quick to apply this template to all of these elevations. And then we can go into here and we can turn off, we're going to actually turn off a few things that I think when you're doing design drawings, I think the level lines look a little bit tacky. So let's actually go to grids. Grid lines, we're going to turn off grids. I mean, if this was a construction drawings project, you maybe want to leave them on. But we're going to turn them off for this. Level lines, maybe we'll actually leave them on, but we'll half tone them. And we're going to go back to model display. And what I'm going to do with our topography is I'm going to create our cut pattern of our topography to be solid white. This is just my preference. You could do solid gray if you wanted to. We're going to make our cut line to be black, maybe like 6. And then we're going to do the same thing for the projection surface. Yeah, this one, solid white. Let's see how that looks actually. So I think that's looking okay. You can see all these level lines are kind of annoying. I I might actually turn them off. We could also turn off the head of these. So instead of doing circle, we can do no bubble. And again, I think that looks better as well. But you know, this might be too crowded to have all of these here. Maybe not. Maybe you want to have them all, but up to you. And then you obviously have a bit of adjusting to do to get these cleaned up. And my usual rule of thumb is to always keep the main ones without jogging, but I think just the way this is working out, I think we got to jog the first floor. But that certainly looks, actually we do have to jog this one too. Overlapping just slightly. So I think that looks a lot better from an elevation perspective. And then we do have the CAD file. So the other thing we can do within the view template is we could actually permanently hide that CAD file. So we can go to import and we can just turn off the CAD file. We could also turn off all CAD files. So if maybe in the future you imported a CAD file and you forgot to clean it up, you could just turn off that CAD file completely. Click OK, click OK. And so now we have some elevations here. We want to crop these views. So usually on whatever side I have the ground, I'll just bring the crop up so you don't see everything below. And then we can drag these datum lines out a little bit. Again, usually in our design drawings, we actually turn off the datum lines, the level lines. Again, I just don't like the way they look. It's like distracting. So, food for thought there. Again, this is what they would look like if we turn them off. So if we go into here, we go to our elevations, and we go to annotation, we could actually just go down to our level lines. We could just turn them off. And I just think it does look quite a bit cleaner when you don't have those on. So again, if this is for a design drawing, I think that's a good idea. If it's for more of a construction drawing, you probably want to have them on. And so that's elevations. I'm just going to do one section, and maybe I'll do a couple 3D views. We'll try to wrap this up here. So let's add a section going down the middle here, like so. And I think with this section, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So let's go to, let's create a view template. Let's go to view, create template from current view. Let's do GVC section. And, again, I know this is going to be a longer than normal quiz, but I think when you complete this, this will be something that's really useful for you to carry on. So we're going to do our cut pattern for all of these as solid fill. So one other little tip we can actually do with these. So I'm going to go to roof. I'm going to grab floor. So I'm just using the control button on my keyboard to select more than once or more than one. Roof, floor, ceiling, wall. I don't think there's any other ones I need. We can actually click override, and it should override all of these at the same time. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so it overrode all those at the same time. So you can use the control button to actually select more than one parameter if you're changing them all. And then what I usually do for sections for topography is I will actually do a gray topography. I mean, again, you could do it in white, but sometimes it's nice to see a little bit of topography, so I'm going to do a really light gray. And then again, really thick grade line. So we'll change this to be a 5 or 6. And we'll click OK. We need to do two more things. We need to go to our grid lines. We're going to turn off our grid lines. We're going to turn off our level lines again. I just don't like them from a design drawing perspective. And we just need to apply the view template to this view. So click apply. And again, very quickly, it really cleans up this drawing. We can turn off our CAD file as well. Imports. Don't show any imports. So again, I think we have some pretty clean drawings very easily with this, and it's obviously pretty easy to replicate all this. And then the last one would be 3D views. And so what I typically do for 3D views and for the 3D view page is I do one 3D view from each direction. So I just grab the camera and just draw the camera in all directions, and then take that camera on, or put those 3D views all on one page, and it just gives a nice perspective for your building. And the cool thing I like about this is, as you start modeling and working, you can hit print instantly to PDF, and you can have all these sheets already set up. So if you're trying to design something, you can hit print to PDF really quickly, grab some trace paper, you can sketch on it, you can kind of figure out how to modify stuff to make it look better. So let's go to our first 3D view we created. Let's go to create template from current view, call it GBC 3D view. And let's go into here, let's go to annotate. Let's go to, import. We want to turn off our CAD. And let's apply that view template to all of these views. And then we go to our 3D view page and we just drag all those on. So we have those different 3D views, and then you might need to adjust some of the views a little bit so you can see everything, but at least this gives you a good starting point. Like this one here, we might want to raise the eye level perspective on this one, so maybe we go up to 639. So now it's like a little bit above the topography and looking down a little bit versus looking up. And so again, the cool thing about this is very quickly we have a bunch of template, a bunch of stuff. And so before I create a template out of this, I'm going to save it because we obviously did all this work on this test. Now that I've saved it, we're going to go to File, Save As. We're going to save this as a template file. So this is the key to making this a template file. So we're going to save as template. And we're going to call this Q5 Quiz 5 Template Example. And the last part of this exercise, we're going to delete everything. So the CAD file, all the walls, all the windows, the doors, everything that we created, we're going to delete. But the cool thing about this is we have all these drawings set up and ready to go. So the next project you work on, you have it all set up. And so going from Quiz 5 to Quiz 6, it's really, you're going to take this and build it into a bigger building, a bigger template. So now we have this template file saved. I'm just going to go to my 3D view, and I'm going to do the move of grabbing everything and deleting. And I like to do it in 3D because I make sure I grab pretty much everything. And so let's go to Reveal Hidden Elements. Let's see if we have anything revealed here. So we have our topography. Or our CAD file. So let's delete our CAD file. And then the other thing I'm going to do is, we had some weird elevation datums in our elevation views and in here. So I'm just going to delete our observation deck ones. We don't really need them in our template file. So now we have that. This is kind of set up. And so the grid lines actually probably another thing we probably should delete because we really don't need these grid lines. So we can delete these grid lines here. We're going to leave our section tag there, but we can also delete those reference planes. And the other thing I like to do just to finalize this template is I like to go to our level 1. And we have this plan region, so we can delete that as well. But I like to go to our level 1. I go to Reveal Hidden Elements. And we have our property lines to delete as well, so we'll delete those. And we have this is our origin point. This is the center of our building. What I like to do is I like to go to RP, and I like to draw a big X in the center here. And the purpose of me doing this is it allows me to have some control over where I'm drawing when I start. And so now what this looks like when I go to my level 1, we have this like X here. So I know that's kind of where my starting point is, where my origin is. And that's ultimately the template. So we have, obviously I didn't set up all the views, but you want to set up all your views. And we have some of that stuff in there. And so the other thing I would encourage you to look at too is windows and doors. Like if you have any specific windows and doors you like to work with, if you have anything that you find like wall types, so you can certainly bring in wall types from your studio projects. And so there is a button here called under Manage called Transfer Project Settings. And so if you opened another Revit file at the same time, you can bring over your wall types. You can bring over your hatch patterns, line types. I would recommend, it's not going to open because I only have one Revit file open, but actually I'll show you what it looks like. I'll just open up this. But when you're using this, my recommendation is you always only bring in the elements you want. So like I always click check none, and I only bring in the element I need. I don't bring everything in because that can be kind of convoluted, and often you're bringing in stuff you don't need. But again, if you have wall types that you created in your studio project or in your warehouse project that you want to bring over, you can use you can bring over wall types like that. Materials, all that kind of stuff you can transfer over. So this is kind of the great thing about the template. And then now when you start drawing, and really what the purpose of this exercise, or the other part of this exercise is, I want you to leave a 20 by 20 box here. And I think I wrote 20 feet by 20 feet, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, but just to have some sort of box in the middle. And these lines would go up to your level 2. And what I want you to do is I want you to save this template file. And so you can see this file type is now an RTE, not an RVT. So it's a different file type. But now we can print this to PDF. And so again, when you're printing to PDF, always zoom to 100%. This is kind of a new thing, this export to PDF button. And so we actually have our sheet sizes set up, but you can actually click use sheet size and it automatically selects that. We can click, we can create a sheet setup here. We can call this all sheets. Select all these, and we can type in a new one. We can call this sheet set, or all sheets. And we can click save current set. Did it save as current set? Save as current set. And I like to edit print order, and I always do print order by sheet numbering. So just to automatically order them based on the sheet list. Yep. And now when we go to PDF, we can PDF this template file, and you're going to have a box on here. I didn't even look at where all the walls and everything were, but we're going to have a box here. So we're going to save this, zoom to 100%, center of view. We've got all this set up here, and I like to do dates, so I'm going to do 2024 0411, and we'll click yes, and this is going to print this to PDF. So this is sheet size per title block. I think I wrote sheet size per title block. And so the cool thing about this PDF is it'll take a second here to print. But, yeah, it's already here. But now we have this box. We have a cover page, our floor plans. We didn't set up all these other levels, our elevations, 3D views. So it's all set up and all kind of working to what we have. And so the goal with this exercise, as much as it's a bit of a longer quiz, is to save you time. So hopefully it's worth putting the time into this. So PDF submission with all these views set up. Make sure the title block is done correctly to print to 100%. Make sure you don't have anything overlapping. So once you print, go back through, and I just saw over down here on my 3D views, my 3D view name is overlapping with this name. So just kind of go through and double check all that stuff. Crop any views you need to crop. And I would like an RTE file. So this RTE file that we have here. And I would like the PDF. So both of those two files. And then that's for both quiz 6, 5, and 6. Quiz 6, the purpose of that is to replace a quiz that you didn't do very well on. So we can use that grade to offset that as a bonus. So yeah, I'll post it today. Any other questions? I got one more thing. So now that we've done this, there's a couple procedures that we want to follow. So if we want to edit the template, we want to go to File, Open, and we want to open the template. If we want to edit the template, we want to go to File, Open, and find our template file and open the template file. And again, if no one's really explained this to you, these numbers are backup files. So I don't want to see files with those numbers because they're the backup file, not the original file. But again, I'm going to repeat this probably for a couple more times, but when we want to edit the template, we open the file. When we want to use the template file, we want to go to File, New, and we're going to go to Browse, and we're going to browse for that template file we created. So if you want to edit the template, you go to File, Open. If you want to use the template file, you go to File, New. Hopefully that makes sense. So we go into here. We go to here to our, and you actually can see these are the only ones that are in here now because it's only seeing this file type. So we click here, and so it shows up here as a template file, and we click OK. And so one of the triggers that will be that this worked properly is up here, it'll call it Project 1. So it saves it as a generic name now. It's not calling the Quiz 5 example template or whatever I had it called that. So that's kind of a key that you did this correctly, is it's called Project 1, or if you already have a Project 1, it might call it Project 2, but somewhere in that sequence. So that's how you do that. Ideally, this box, you can leave the box if you like in your template file and just delete it when you start working, or we don't actually have the box at all. Our file is just completely blank. But one other thing I want to show you along the same breath is it's kind of annoying to go to File, New, and browse to that every time and find it. So what we can actually do is go to Options. We can go down to File Locations, and we can add the template here to this file location thing. And so now when we go to File, New, we actually see our template here. So you don't have to actually go find it somewhere. It's just, and so when you're working on apps anywhere, I don't know how that's going to work. It might not work at all. But if you have this locally installed on your computer, it should work out correctly where when you click that file, it'll just start from that file. So honestly, like just the idea of setting up sheets, and you're probably going to do some tweaking, but that's probably like an hour there, every project you do, right? So I would encourage you to set this up, use it. I would encourage you to expand it. And I think that's kind of my last little 2 cents. We are at the end of class here, so that'll be it for today. Next week, we're going to spend maybe a little bit, about an hour, and complete the rest of our work on that test 5 or test 4. And then the rest of the class you'll have to work on. And next class, I'll show you what my template looks like so you can see that. So anyways, that's it for today.